But it is the most faggot goddamn thing you will ever imagine.
It is a high-tech lynching.
If you don't like what we tell you to believe in, we'll kill you.
All right, welcome to the first TRS podcast, The Daily Shoah. I'm Bjorn. I'm here with Mike Enoch.
Oh, hey, what's up?
And Ghoul.
Hello.
And, of course, Bulbasaur. Say hello, Bulby.
Hey.
Hey. All right, so here we are. Let's let her rip.
All right, so, I guess the first topic we were going to talk about was the immigration article. Ghoul, you said you didn't even finish it. You didn't finish it.
I can't. No, I can finish the article. I can't finish the original comic.
Oh, you didn't finish the comic? Oh, my.
That it's derived from, because, you get the gist just by looking at the imagery. Like, you don't even have to read the words. But it's like...
Yeah.
You just read it, and this is what progressives
for me, it doesn't,
actually
what is it?
believe.
What is it? Yeah, well, what is it? What is it even supposed to imply? Is what I'm left wondering. Like, imagine a world where you get locked out. What is that? I'm saying that to Americans, and they're like, I don't know.
Well, that's what they fantasize about.
That's true.
I guess, but it's like, what is it?
Persecution complex.
But it seems like the right, even like mainstream American conservative right, has like based all of their, even if there is like an underlying like element of what people like what the left would condemn as racist, it's like they don't use that as their platform to argue against, to argue their point. They're just like, yeah, it's probably not a very good thing to have a massive tidal wave of non-American illegals coming in with like bringing nothing but poverty. It's probably not the best thing for the country. Should probably do something about it. And then the response is, how would you feel if you couldn't get in?
Right. It's and that's Brian Kaplan's point too. I remember when Brian Kaplan was getting into, I assume everybody knows about, I'm just going to go with the assumption that people know about Brian Kaplan, know who he is. He's basically a libertarian economist, Jewish libertarian economist, very much pro-open borders. And his argument, he doesn't even acknowledge the validity of this position that people inside the United States are, to some extent, a group of people with a defined identity. I know that's a problematic concept, but he doesn't even really acknowledge that, and he has this idea. His argument is it's immoral to forcefully prevent people from seeking a better life, but that raises all these questions, like, why is the life better here? Why is it so shitty there? Like, what, are we actually obligated to make our institutions available to the world? They're not coming here. I don't buy this. They're coming here strictly for welfare. Just like I don't buy here that they're coming here strictly for jobs. Like, they're coming here for a number of reasons, mainly functioning institutions that they can free ride from.
It's dishonest as hell to make it's exactly what all forms of left thinking on this subject have been all been pushing, is this idea that all Americans have an obligation to all non-Americans.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's not like they're a random neighbor who is broke as shit and you're sitting on a big pile of gold shooing them away or something. It's like if you want to, it's a really elementary way to look at it.
Well, from the looks of the particular comic, these supposed Mexicans depicted in this comic don't look very unfortunate. They don't look very uneducated. They just, as has been said over and over, they're white people with browner skin. And it's just asinine.
That's the lie that they, everyone knows that's not true. This
do
is
they?
all
This is in the Boston freaking Globe.
Yeah,
I didn't even know. I wasn't even aware of this as an angle of their argument that they're just white peoples with tan. This is the first time I've seen them portrayed as white people with a tan that are just climbing over the border. I was like, oh, really?
I think because of that particular medium, like, because it was a comic strip, and I thought of this at first, when I first saw the art, I thought this was that stupid fucking bitch Jen Sorensen. You remember that bitch?
Yes.
I thought that's who this was, but then I realized it's this other guy, Ward Sutton, who I had never heard of before, but it's also like, it's like Tom Tomorrow, all that shit, right? That particular medium presents shit in a way where everybody is presented as sort of like a rational, like post-ironic, sort of slightly edgy, like observational humor white person. Like they're portraying Mexicans as if they're going to have the same habits of mind and like reactions
just looking
as
at
like
the guy
a
with
white person.
The guy with the goatee and the red shirt and his I don't know, whoever's standing by him with the white, nice purse, and it's like, yeah, they just clambered over a fence, and that's what they look like when they got here.
Yeah, they're wearing, they're rocking like American normcore clothing.
His hair's all coiffed.
Yeah, he's
got Bill Clinton hair. It's like, whew.
He's been reading the latest GQ.
Exactly.
And then, of course, like there's one that wasn't included. I just took that crop that someone else in the group did. But there's another one, like the Mexican mayor guy.
Yeah. He looks like Mitt Romney.
He's like perfectly white presenting, like suit, tie. Hello.
It's like they repurposed the picture of Mitt Romney.
I'm the non-threatening Mexican who happens to be white and everything except my slightly darker skin. I mean, that's such a lie, and it's so necessary to that particular view on it. Like, because if the guy said, like I said in the article, if in fact this is how it is, then yes, it's completely ridiculous to be racist, right? Like if Mexican people, black people, whatever other people are really just the same, like really, honestly, in that they wear the same clothing, they have the same reactions, everything, then yes, it's completely absurd to be racist because it's just the color of your skin. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
But like, no, that's not how it is. And I mean, you would really have to be a very sheltered white person, which I think some people are, to not understand this. To have. I think
it's too much fun to believe that your opposition is just stupid and like has no grip on reality. Like it's too much fun to believe that. And I think when you sit in your own little like political social circle long enough, that's the views you're going to develop eventually.
Yes.
That's something that I think probably actually makes TRS like a worthwhile group to like hang out in and to discuss things with, is because it's like a pretty broad selection of people with some pretty conflicting views. And
we don't mind conflict.
I think it like widens everyone's understanding about things at the end of the day.
So, Ghoul, you were saying earlier of the new line of reasoning with the justification for them, just coming over the border.
Yeah. But really, this is the biggest, like, probably like my biggest position that I could maybe categorize as some kind of LARPy position would be my just absolute disdain for democracy. And right now I feel like that, like I can't help but feel like that right now is probably the biggest problem. I would say the leftist crap that hijacks democracy is a problem all on its own, but I mean, it's just a force that hijacks it. It's like only enabled through democracy. Yeah. With like, I find it I think this is probably the only system available actually where the ruling class or those in power can actually commit self-destructive actions to the country to gain more power for themselves. Not even in some ass backwards place like North Korea is that an option. They rely too much on the the minor crap that the populace can produce. Like they would, destroying the population more would hardly give them the kind of benefits that our democracy gives the left.
And you were saying earlier about the justification for the flood over the border now. I mean, it's worn down. Every major left figurehead, media outlet, from anywhere, they're not even saying that it's. They're not even saying that it's economic anymore. Sorry. Go ahead.
They don't bother using that anymore. I think they know everyone would laugh if they tried. All these people flooding in with no money. That's just great for the economy. It does. It's not argued anymore. I haven't heard that argued in years and years and years.
It's a ridiculous argument to begin with. I mean, I have heard it recently. I mean, libertarians try to pull that stuff, but I mean, I think.
That triggers me.
If I can interject,
please do.
Go for it.
One thing that triggers me to the fucking moon is when a libertarian tries to argue that to be against illegal immigration means you are against immigration. That because you want some standards to, the people that are coming over and are going to be enjoying the same system as you, at least have the same kind of, I guess maybe motivation or maybe they don't see the country as a vending machine or they're not going to be your enemy, basically. They're not trying to colonize or they're not, I don't even think it's colonized. That would require agency. That they're just wanting to bring everyone down to the same third world level that they came from. That infuriates me. It's a very dishonest argument.
What gets me?
Libertarians think on the pretext that every action is for peaceful economic purposes.
Well, that's all they look at. It's just the dollar. Yeah. Every action is just
If you're looking at the problem like that, then I'm sure it seems why do you care?
Yeah, I mean, it's
because I use my brain that's in my head.
I mean, if everybody was just a consumer, a producer and consumer of market goods, then sure, more people, even less skilled, more people is a net benefit based on various, standard economic premises. But that's not.
It kind of, in a way, goes back to that comic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yeah, because that's actually what's funny is because the comic, in order to make its case, needs to make a pretense that that's the case. That, in fact, I mean, they actually, basically in the comic, the guy reverses U.S. and Mexico, and it's as if the institutions are identical. Like the U.S. Border Patrol is the same as the Mexican federales, right? It's just you just switch the two, and it's the same. Only now it's white people that are being hunted, instead of Mexicans, and really the institutions are really just interchangeable. If that's the case, why does anyone need to come from Mexico? If the U.S. and Mexico have comparable institutions, why and the people are why isn't it just one thing? Why is there even a difference between there and here?
You can never get them. You can never get them to understand that you don't have a first world nation with a third world population, and
right.
That's just mean.
Liberals and libertarians share this blind spot. Yeah. I think libertarians are generally
libertarians. Libertarians, they come after me. They see, usually when I talk about this online with some libertarians, they're quick to go with, they create opportunity. It's no, they take opportunity from people that are already here. I myself do paint contracting. I have to bid against these guys.
Yes.
They don't have insurance. They don't have license. They don't have anything. And if you want it done cheap, and then the libertarian says, well, great, it's good for me because it's cheaper now. I don't paint, but I might need something painted. And those guys coming over here means it's cheaper. It's
libertarians are incredibly short-sighted.
Yeah. Well, they also don't look at...
You get a bunch of wetbacks wandering around your property.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's like I can't teach. There's no point in trying to teach a teenager to come learn the business and do it. It's why should the teenager learn how to do that when, Paco, you've already got Paco and whoever,
That's actually one of the things is that it's like they say like, oh well, they take the jobs. This is another totally dishonest argument. They take the jobs Americans don't want. It's like
they take plenty of jobs that I want.
I mean, and to a certain extent, like I'm a 37-year-old white guy. I'll say they take a lot of jobs I don't want. But when I was 17,
exactly.
I would have wanted those jobs. You know what I mean? Like,
how about if I want help? If I want help that I can afford, I have to go to one of them.
Right.
You know, I would rather have an American kid with no experience who needs to learn. I would rather take that on, because they'll take it. You know, that kid actually wants more than the Mexican guy does. It's just you can't beat it. And these people don't care. These libertarians, they don't care.
Socially. I would at least grant libertarians I would grant libertarians that they at least have what they think is a logical argument and present it.
It's
even
logical.
If it's very short-sighted.
It just sucks.
Like, yeah, because it's short-sighted. Like it's like seeing 2 feet in front of your face, and then, but I would at least give them that they have like something that they would conceive as something structured, or like I mean that could be like it's like okay, you tried basically, but like with the left, which is like an even more like a 1,000-fold more enforced like a much stronger position in America right now is like they don't argue a benefit, they don't argue anything. It's
they
just
argue a feel.
Think about their feelings right now. Or it's like, but I had the displeasure of like watching a little bit of Bill Maher with some
Jesus.
Oh my God!
With some guest on there. I don't know. They were both just dildo, but
you don't say.
This woman that was on a show was like the way that she basically said all these little kids coming from Honduras are just here because they're trying to escape the life of violence, and if we send them back, that means we're killing them. And Bill Maher's like, well, yeah, but those conservatives, they just can't wait to kill those brown people, and everyone's, Bill Maher, you're so great. It's like that's the argument. Like,
every one of us.
That's what you broadcasted on like national television. Like that's like you thought that every television deserved to see like
every one of us
that was worthy of everyone's fucking television set. Like that was fucking retarded.
We're all going to sleep thinking about holding guns to the heads of brown children. That's just America.
Yeah, I mean,
that's white America right there, brother.
I mean, I'm from a red state. I mean, that's what we think about all the time.
That conceit drives me absolutely fucking nuts. It's this conceit that I mean, it's present somewhat in this cartoon, and it's like a view that like yes, conservatives, because they're trying to conserve something, because they're trying to define a border for their in-group, like that means that they're necessarily like predatory on the out-group. It's like like we don't have to let everyone be part of our group. Like what the hell? Like you would acknowledge that right for every other kind of person in the world, except for like middle American white people. They don't have the right to define their own group and the borders of their own group.
Yes.
Something that I think is pretty hilarious about that like race underlying crap with the left is they really want to believe it for people who deny that race has anything to do with their conclusions. So it's like, like your typical American right-wing guy who's, against the flood of poverty for obvious reasons. Well, you met with like, I bet he just hates brown people. But then they might run into some guy who's like, some like radical fucking weirdo part of like the National Alliance who's like, I just straight up fucking hate non-white people. I wish they'd all die. And then they just like, then they just don't know what to say. Like, like they'll go out of their way to demonize people who don't have these views, claim they have these views, and then completely stay like 1,000 feet away from anyone who actually has these views.
Now, we have to be fair, and we have to bring up, somebody on the right that kind of makes a similar argument. We've got a Jack Hunter from Rare.us talking about how he's embarrassed about calling himself he's embarrassed to be a conservative because people are saying mean things about the Honduran children. that they might have diseases because, the third world doesn't have any disease.
Not at all.
But, yeah. Okay, I've been to Honduras. Is anyone else?
No.
I have not had the pleasure. I have smoked many a cigar wrapped by Honduran, slave labor, which I've enjoyed very much. But I've never been there.
That's your privilege. That's your privilege.
Exactly. I checked my privilege. It was a quart low. I filled it up.
Yeah, like half the houses there. Half the houses there when I was in Honduras didn't have roofs, and half of them weren't finished. It's like there were some places you'd walk by and you would just see like a family eating dinner, with their wall missing.
Wow.
And there's always a bunch of kids running around, and the locals always tell you they're gonna see that you're a white person, and so you really need to have your hands in your pockets at all times, or they're going to run up and take your shit.
Yeah, right.
And they're content with that. See, that to me is the most amazing thing, that people that sit in
what the hell are they going to do?
And don't do. I mean, you could fix the wall. I mean, look. I mean, is that,
I'm saying with what? I know that's funny, but with what? I mean, is there something laying around?
These places. These places I was actually visiting though. Well, these places I was actually these houses are all made out of wood, and they were surrounded by 10,000 fucking trees.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's what I'm saying.
There's the answer. Never mind.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's I have a little bit of agency here. I mean.
I don't picture.
But if they look sad enough, some white people from Boston will send them money.
Send them 25.
And then let their children, and then they'll adopt their children. It's going to be great.
I don't picture Latin countries like that with trees. I figure they burned them all because they can't into fuel.
No, dude, they got jungle all over the place down there.
Oh, all right. Oh, you're right. Yeah. Well, you can't cut that down because there's even differenter kind of Latin people living in there.
Oh God!
Even more vibrant ones.
Yeah, those are like the extra vibrant, the uncontacted vibrancy.
I gotta cut this short for me.
Oh, I was just gonna trigger you with my Jesus stories. Well, the memes going around about the little illegal immigrant children is WWJD. You got to let them in the country because Jesus is just testing us conservatives. This is liberals saying it to us.
Yes, Jesus would have gone into politics. He would have gone really left wing, and he would have told the government to open up its borders to another. Why? Why is that what Jesus?
Charity, because when government, it's charity.
No, wait. That's now you're triggering me.
See, there we go. That's what I was going for.
So when Jesus was saying, you need when people are casting you out of your house, you knock the dust off your feet and you leave. What he really meant is the socialist way. You come in there and you sleep in the bed with them, and you might sleep with their wife, right?
Right.
because everything's owned by everyone.
Right.
Right. That's the argument.
I'm not going to pretend to be educated theologically on the Christianity and the doctrines that Jesus taught. But I'm quite sure that leftists project their own politics onto him after hearing a few Bible verses that Jesus says.
I don't even think it's that, and it's much more ham-fisted than that. It's just that when it's fucking convenient to use.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's what liberalism is. Yeah, liberals are just they're conservative Christian when it's convenient.
When it's convenient, exactly.
They're not even conservative Christian; they're left-wing Christian. But yes, they liked the idea of Christ basically being a liberal, probably a homosexual communist.
Exactly.
I'm not kidding. That then they can chastise conservatives for, well, you claim to be this Christian, but you have X, Y, and Z views that are not in accord with my projecting of my views onto Jesus, which when I actually never read the Bible, I don't know anything about it.
The point is always to try to trap you in some kind of hypocritical spot where you have to you're not a Christian or you have to.
They don't care. They don't care about Jesus. They care about they think that argument's going to get under conservative skin or something.
Well, I'm sure it works on a few of them.
It does. That's the sad part.
Yeah. I'd like to tell them it doesn't work on this one, motherfucker. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works it could work, then it might. I don't think it's convincing. I think it's rustling. I don't think it convincing. I mean, but a lot of evangelical conservatives have their own narrative that's
completely dildos.
Great either, but again, I'm not really that prepared to comment on these things because I was raised as an Episcopalian.
Me too. Which might as well not bother.
Right. You were raised Episcopal too.
Oh yeah. I got confirmed to something. I don't know what exactly.
Confirmed to something.
Yeah. I'm actually a catechized Lutheran. I am a confirmed Lutheran because the Episcopal Church didn't do confirmations when I was a teen, so my dad sent me to the Lutheran Church to get confirmed, and I'm a confirmed Lutheran, but I spent most of my church life in the Episcopal Church.
Yep. I guess that makes me I'm a confirmed dildo.
I was raised an evangelical Baptist.
I gotta head out.
All right, cool.
I'll see you guys later.
See you, man.
All right. Talk to you later.
Have fun. But yeah, I was definitely raised in an evangelical environment, and I can definitely confirm that they had a whole lot to do with creating the environment we inhabit today. I mean, the whole reason that the left, that shitty, snarky leftist narrative even holds any water is because it comes from that. I mean, it is a dialectic. Like, you basically have the shittiest element of the left and the right just kind of clogging up everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember always growing up, my father was so triggered by evangelicals. And I sort of just absorbed that without ever really knowing much about it. Then I got to know what their belief system was, and I was like, "Oh,
rationalized ignorance."
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about like we're talking about Baptist evangelicals, Christian Zionism, like the kind that's very associated with the Republican Party, etc. He was triggered by it because he's a hardcore Democrat, and that was a political force in opposition. I do think they are kind of retarded, but I'm hesitant to be extremely critical of them because it just reeks to me of fucking Brahmin faggotry, and I don't want to be involved in it. But I get why there is criticism of that movement.
But now, would you not say that there's kind of a left evangelical movement that's kind of developing?
There absolutely is a left evangelical movement, and it's not even necessarily a new thing. Definitely. There's a Christian left, whether or not it's evangelical or not. I mean, I've been to evangelical Lutheran churches. That's different than Southern Baptist evangelical, but that's a very left liberal environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were kind of discussing that, it's all very similar. It takes away all of the Christian imagery and symbolism, and it just kind of replaces modern politics. And,
right.
And really, from me, with me wanting to get back involved in like theological discussions, and a lot of my new friends are actually involved in these churches, in an administrative level. I mean, for instance, the Methodists are about to have a schism over gay marriage. There's about to be a huge contingent leaving the church, creating some new, rainbow church.
Because
that blows. I don't even know where to go because, as I just said, I was confirmed Episcopalian, and I think we have gay bishops. I mean, forget marriage.
Dude,
I mean, where do I go?
All of the staff and clergy of the National Episcopal Church in the United States is homosexual. I mean,
what am I supposed to do?
Or not, they are homosexuals. Like all the priests, all the bishops, like they are. My dad has been a devoted member of the Episcopal Church since before I was born, and he still is a member, and he still volunteers. He's been on the search committee for various churches that he's been a part of, and even he, staunch Democrat and liberal, is getting sick of it, and he's like, in the town where they live now, which shall not be named, he was on the search committee for the Episcopal Church there looking for a new priest. And he was like, the congregation actually came to me and asked if we could possibly get what they used to have, which was a nice married man with kids, instead of homosexual, and he's like, and there are none available.
Yeah.
Everybody coming out of seminary is homosexual.
Wow.
And have you? Well, this is going to kind of go sort of off track. Have you heard of Father Eric Bergman out of Scranton?
Have not.
No.
He was an Episcopal pastor, and him and about 200 people, they actually left and joined the Catholic Church. And he is an ordained priest with a wife. Very interesting situation that they did there.
The Catholics let him in even though he was married?
Yes, because everything else, they were able to kind of work Catholic teaching in. I mean, because they were able to bend to that. And the whole reason that he turned against that was the bishop that left his wife to shack up with a man, his wife and son.
That is so crazy to me that there is this thing, the Anglican Communion, that I was looking into, but I don't know much about it. And from what I've heard, they're basically in really bad financial shape, and they are involved in legal disputes over property with the National Episcopal Church, which has a lot more money than they do, and probably has a stronger legal claim to some of the properties. Like, you can't just say, okay, this church is now Anglican Communion and not Episcopal. Like, the Episcopal Church owns those grounds, and they have a lot of very valuable property all over the country, which they're going to have because they don't have any contributing members anymore. So I don't know who's going to pay the salaries of that bureaucracy and all those priests and bishops. And those people make good money.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, and going back, what I was talking about, the whole Methodist schism, they've been working on this for decades, apparently. And I don't know when it's going to happen. It's supposed to happen here in a year or two, maybe 5 years at most. But it's going to tear, I think there's maybe 8 Methodist universities, and all but one are basically aligned with the new pro-gay organization.
Right, okay.
So it's going to be a big deal. It's going to tear that congregation apart.
That happened to the Episcopal Church in the 90s.
Yeah.
And now it's going to happen to the Methodist Church now. That makes sense. And it's the national church. The main organization is the pro-gay faction, and it's the grassroots that's anti-gay. Am I correct?
Actually, I think it's opposite. It's the grassroots that's gay.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So the national church doesn't want to go dildo, and there's a faction in the church that does. I get it.
Yeah.
See, that was the opposite with the Episcopal. The Episcopal, like, the dildos came from on high. And there was a grassroots rebellion against it. Most of that just panned out to people leaving, going Catholic, going agnostic, going non-religious, or going Methodist, maybe Lutheran, but there was this attempt to organize the Anglican Communion, but they're going to die. They don't have any money.
And that kind of goes back to the larger discussion here is the whole development of a left evangelical movement that's really tying, they're getting behind the gay marriage stuff, and pretty much all of the left agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting. It's almost like a reverse of the Reagan years.
Well, that's a very totalitarian thing that all social institutions have to be on board for, like, the revolutionary agenda, right? So, and I mean, there are probably younger leftists that think that institutions that are not pro-gay do not have a right to exist. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that actually, if you saw the video that we were discussing, the Peter Hitchens video, where he goes on the BBC 3 on some program ironically titled Free Speech, and he's talking to all of these young, all these young British Brahmin that are just like about rape culture, and it's like basic. He makes the basic point of we should maintain guilt, innocence until proven guilt, jury trials, and standard rules of evidence in our legal system. Pretty basic point going back hundreds of years of English and American common law, and they just jumped on him as victim blaming, and they all then went on Twitter and their blogs and talked about how he shouldn't even be allowed to speak.
Wow.
And it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's so totalitarian. I mean, the left...
And you see how what's happening as far as the sports stars that they're trying to out for having a relative that said something negative about, target demographic, or if they said something in the past about Negroes or the homosexuals and all of that. It's very McCarthy-esque.
It's worse. It actually works.
It's even not, though. I mean, the thing is that the whole thing with McCarthy is that is the most blown out of proportion. That is the most blown out of proportion thing ever. I mean, we could go into the whole McCarthy thing.
We'll have to
derail, but we could actually have a discussion on my views on that and why McCarthyism is a fucking lie that's made up. I mean, they tell you that McCarthy era was so scary, so intimidating.
They don't say a damn thing about Alger Hiss.
Right.
They don't. First of all, they don't say that he was fucking right. That McCarthy was actually right.
Oh yeah, there were
and
commies
they don't
all,
say
yeah.
They were fucking commies everywhere. Yeah. And they don't say that at the time. I mean, it's funny. There's this movie. See, now I'm going into it. There's this movie with Clooney, George Clooney, where he plays Edward R. Murrow. No, he doesn't play Edward R. Murrow. He is the producer of the movie, but some other guy plays Edward R. Murrow. Clooney's in it. A few other people are in it. It's actually not a bad movie. And I remember watching it, and I was thinking, like, so wait, where's this McCarthyism? Because all I see is Edward R. Murrow, contemporary of McCarthy, going on his show and witch hunting McCarthy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, where is this witch hunting? And like, this guy is the announcer for national public television. I mean, there was like 2 channels at the time. I mean, this guy had the nation's ear.
It just goes in line with the standard issue progressive tactics is you're perpetually in danger, you're perpetually a victim, right. You're perpetually being persecuted. And
perpetually, therefore, justified in the most extreme reaction.
Exactly.
Like, nothing that a right-winger is ever accused of doing it will ever be as bad as what a left-winger would do in reality. Yeah. Like, I mean, you could compare any just generic right-wing politician and his sins against a contemporary left-wing politician. Yep. I mean, compare the whole Watergate thing with Nixon with, say, the IRS scandal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a degree of overreach that I would say is much worse than
Barney Frank and his little twink whorehouse that he had. Was it Barney Frank? I believe it was. Oh my God!
Barney Frank was actually
no, but the guy with the toe tapping in the bathroom was worse than that, right? The toe tapper.
His lover, his live-in partner, or whatever the hell it was at the time, was actually running a gay brothel out of his home.
Yep.
Wow.
And he's a was he a congressman? He's a congressman.
He's still in there too, I think.
He's a really powerful congressman. And you couldn't even, if a conservative were to stand up and be like, hey, this is the United States Congress, maybe we shouldn't have one of our members running a gay brothel out of their home, they would have been accused of hate.
And if some Republican's like second cousin in another state was running one, he would have to resign.
Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny when, a mutual friend of ours was saying the other day in the group, it's because the left maintains a revolutionary attitude no matter what, even though they're in power. And the right doesn't have a revolutionary attitude. And I don't know that the problem is that it's because of what, I mean, we even in this small group, we probably all have different visions. But generally speaking, we don't advocate a revolutionary program, so it's very difficult to have a revolutionary attitude.
We just want everything to stop.
Just make more sense.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think, Mike, you wanted to tell us about your new favorite cooking show, is that right?
All right, so basically, we were talking about the Auntie Feed thing. And so she makes this, like we were saying, she makes this ghetto ass, cheap fucking slop ingredient shit. All right, I'll tell you what the ingredients of the $3 feed 7 people on $3 is. It's fucking ramen noodles, fried. Okay, no, I'm shitting you not. Listen to me.
Should we play a little audio?
Try to contain. You can play some audio in a bit, but let me try to contain your disgust.
Okay.
It's ramen noodles is it's ramen noodle.
I'm already out.
Okay, she throws in some leftover taco meat, sprinkles the ramen seasoning on top, and like throws some parsley in it. And she's mixing this up in a frying pan as this stupid ass nephew or relation of hers that's filming is like, and they're getting math wrong. She's like, this only like, you get 10 of these for $1. So how many I got in there? I put 10 in. How many I got? How much that? $1? And he's like, well, that's $1 if you put 10 in. And she's like, no, nigga, I ain't put 10 in. I put 2. He's like, oh, that's 20 cents. And I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? And then so I'm watching this. As I'm watching this, I'm like, dude, I know that these left libertarian mutualist types that we all know and love and spent way too much time arguing with are going to take this and project some bullshit postmodern Marxist fucking bullshit on it about like oppressed people of color struggling, use of resources like maximization of scarce resources among the oppressed and all that shit. And I scroll down, and the top comment is from that fucking mutie, George Donnelly. I know this fucking guy. And I was like, oh, that's just so fucking typical. This is so great on so many levels. And I know he's going into the mutualism group or one of these groups, pasting it in, and all the white people in that group are going to sit there and faff to this about, and
they're going to try to figure out a way they can, like, do urban farming, some ramen noodles. How you can grow your own ramen noodles on the top of your shitty fucking tent.
That's the thing. I'm surprised someone didn't say, ramen noodles contain X, Y, and Z evil corporation. And, like, oh, God, the whole thing about it is just, yeah. And they're going to project, of course they're going to over-intellectualize it, right? Like, it's not just a dumb negress in a kitchen making disgusting. No, this is the oppressed people of color.
She gonna be on the cooking channel.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the funny thing. Of course, she's blown up. These videos have 1 million views over like the course of a couple of days, and she's already gonna be on that Jammy Cammy show or whatever. And I'm like, I was just. Oh man, but it was so predictable. I mean, it was so predictable, and even before I saw George Donnelly's name in that comment, I was like, I know that they're gonna love this. And his comment was like, "This is great on so many levels."
On so many levels,
it's so
funny. These vacant, empty white people desperately grasping for anything with authenticity and meaning.
I wonder. If the foods you mentioned, those are all, verboten. They're just, ramen noodles, factory farm chop meat, and what was the other? Is it just okay with them when brown people eat that stuff?
Of course.
Is that all it is? It's okay for them to poison themselves, but, we gotta eat kale chips and fucking...
I really don't think eating ramen noodles is poisoning yourself. It's just getting
the seasoning. I mean, what is that?
A lot of sodium.
Pure salt, basically, is what it is. That's why it tastes good. It tastes good like the first 2 spoonfuls, and you're like, oh my God, I can't eat any. It does taste good for the first 2 spoonfuls.
But I just love the subtext there. That if this was, if this was my mom putting this together, we would be white trash. We would be giving ourselves stomach cancer. But since it's this down on her luck negress with her, that means it's great. It's empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, she's empowering herself by like maximizing scarce resource. You could write all kinds of bullshit Marxist headlines. Yeah. And it's, I just picture all
my headline is muties want black people to kill themselves with trans fats. That's my headline for that story. That's what it is. That's what they really want.
My headline is muties desperately seek authenticity and project their bullshit views onto a poor woman of color. That's what's so funny about it. I mean, this is a desperate search for authenticity by these people. They don't feel it in their own lives, and they project it onto these minority groups that really are actually savages. I mean, like, this woman is, you'll watch it and you'll agree with me. It's total TNS. It's
I know.
It's like stratosphere level TNS. Yeah. And it's just, and I just picture them all just, you know what I'm talking about.
Like, you can picture them doing the fire challenge or the alcohol challenge, where they're like dousing themselves with rubbing alcohol and setting themselves on fire. Like they immediately go to do that. It's some straight up world star hip hop shit.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, you could.
But remember, it's just, it's color your skin, doesn't matter.
Right, because some cartoonist on the Boston Globe, just kind of draws them all like the same thing. It's like the Smurfs or something.
They're just like us on the inside.
Right.
All right, so Bulby. So I got to call you that because can't let the secret identities out.
Yeah.
You recently pruned the blog quite a bit, and you changed. We've been having TRS has had trouble with labels other than TRS, and in your latest claim is now you refer to yourself in the blog, the editorial line, I guess, as a moderate reactionary, or just plain old if you want to call it a Republican. And I wanted to ask you, a while back, you referred to yourself as a right-wing progressive. Now, was that just for troll points, or was there something to that you could explain to me?
I'll be honest with you, most of it is kind of trolling. Because, the thing that's really bugging me
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But the thing that's bugging me now is that I'm starting to see a recurring theme. I came out of being a really hardcore ANCAP. Before that, I was a hardcore objectivist.
Myself, yeah.
Yeah, and before that, I was kind of like a Michael Savage, close the borders, all that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then I went into like the hardcore nihilism, and then finally this hardcore monarchist, reactionary, fascist, feudalist, and it's all the same thing. It's all the same sort of attitude. It's all there's no nuance. It's
all about purity.
And
like taking one idea and bringing it all the way to its logical conclusion without any, no matter how retarded it gets when you get to a certain point.
The way Mike has said it, it's just argumentation ethics.
Yeah.
Kind of. Isn't that how you would say it, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically one of my things with all sort of radical politics, which is why my views are probably a blend of libertarian and neo-reaction, which actually comes remarkably close to sort of standard conservatism. Yeah. But
we're so different from them, though.
I know.
You can't make it. You can't.
We're all special snowflakes.
But yeah.
Well, we're a group of snowflakes that are kind of this. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that.
Having been in the Marxist milieu and the anarcho-communist milieu sort of mixed together when I was in my late teens and early 20s. You do start to notice patterns with radical politics, and that the emphasis is on purity and identity, and I understand that. Like, I actually understand that, but
then you start coming into the problem that Caleb Luna had. It's at some point you remove the essence of the thing. You're no longer. It's like, I'm a transgender moonkin. What the fuck is that? How can you be that when you don't?
Right.
When you're just a bunch of words, you're just this jumble of things. Yeah. You're ordering a sandwich at Subway.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And that's what a lot of this stuff has become now. It's like, I'm neo-reactionary with some feudalist tendencies, and I really like monarchism. And it's like, you're dressing a sandwich. Shut up.
Right. Yeah, I hate that shit. Yeah, I mean, I even sort of said that before, but like. I mean, it's difficult because
I'm just going to start saying I LARP on Facebook as.
Yeah, I mean that's
really what it is.
Actually, I LARP on.
On the head. I mean,
I LARP on Facebook as extreme racist guy. I think I got to tone it down. It's kind of getting like weird. Okay, sorry about
that. There is that. I mean, that does exist, but there also is meaning to some of these things. So.
Yeah,
it's just difficult. I mean, if you have a real viewpoint, if you have a real, like when I was in ANCAP, I mean, the whole thing with ANCAP and the whole thing with Marxist and those things is that you have this complete inability to engage in discourse.
Yes.
Like, and both Marxists and ANCAPs do this, which is why I say they're mirror images of each other, is because they have, like, they don't have a dialectic. They don't have any kind of nuance to their rhetoric. It's all, like, Marxists just, they have this turgid style and these particular vocabulary words that are supposed to mean X, but they just are there to intimidate someone else into being silenced because they don't know as much, they're not as educated. ANCAPs have the thing of, if you argue against me, you're accepting my premise, and both of those just shut down any possible discourse. I've tried to develop a more of a, just more of a give and take kind of position where, like, I can accept that, like, when I stop being anarchist, when I stopped believing axiomatically that the state was the worst evil in society, that opens up a whole vista of potential ideas that you can explore now. And you're not, like, ANCAP is the most boring thing. And I was even talking to another, again, the mutual friend of ours the other day, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, how can you even do a libertarian blog? Like, how could you even do a libertarian blog? What are you even going to say? Government's bad. The end. What else is there?
NAP!
Like, there is no other position to take.
Basically,
you don't have any moral views. You don't have any judgmental views.
I think that's how I burned out on it. And
you're not interested.
I think that's how I burned out on it and found TRS was, you know, it was like I was reading the same goddamn thing over and over again, just parsing out where's the force, where's the hidden violence. Oh, there it is. And how many times can you find the hidden gun in the room?
How many times can you play Where's Waldo?
Exactly.
It's basically playing Where's Waldo, And it's not. I mean, it's so to sort of say like, oh well, I'm libertarian mixed with neo-reaction. I mean, that does sound like I'm ordering a Subway sandwich, but I mean, I can explain.
Yes,
I know exactly what you mean. So
right, like I can explain what my view is, which is basically that I believe that we should have a nation of majority white people that has laissez-faire economic policy. I mean, I don't think that's that radical.
Right.
You know,
it's not radical at all. It's very traditional.
Exactly.
Right. That's sort of what America should be for me. And I'm not going to get into these like weird pagan European cults. That's just not me. That's not how I was. I mean, that's not. I'm raised in this country. I can't be I can't supplant myself to another place in time.
Yeah.
It's what I hear in Bulbasaur's declaration of calling it moderate reactionary. Is like the moderate part is, I think, being more realistic about what's going on and what's possible.
Yeah, grounding it in the real world
rather than LARPing for Skyrim, as you guys said.
Right.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's the problem. That's one thing that I'm trying to do is really I'm trying to suss out how many people that have been following the blog are really just the same vapid, shit suckers, really. I mean, from the ANCAP days. Because, I mean, we attracted a lot of them. And that's the thing, is these things are constantly imploding. It's a very intellectually nomadic thing. I'm very closed-minded. I have this one-track mind. I want this to be an equation. I want X plus Y equals Z. Yeah. I want this to encompass all of reality. And when it self-detonates, I move on to something else. I just change the words around. I change. I don't change anything else. I'm still stuck in this one mindset. I'm the same person right now as a monarchist that I was as an ANCAP, that I was as a conservative, as I was as a homosexual, as a Christian. And it drives me up the wall. You see it in the comment section.
You have to accept the imperfection of humanity. If you don't,
you're lying.
You really are just like trying on a different costume and like attempting to come up with an argument that can't be contended with, but has no connection to reality.
Right. Like when there was somebody that used to be in the group, I would get on these threads with people talking about the immigration thing again, and I can't even have a debate with those people about one subject because they can't stay on immigration and culture. They have to go to well, if we didn't have a state then, and it's just like,
or if we didn't have Jews then,
it's like we have
then, or if we didn't have
right, like we have a state,
like we have a state.
Democracy.
It's not going to shut down. It's not going to shut.
We have blacks.
It's not going to shut down. Yeah, it's not going to shut down the welfare state to make up for these people coming in, and
right.
It's not going to end tomorrow. So what do you want? What do you really want to do about this?
Yeah,
well, people should be
or the people that I'm not going to name names. I wanted to. The ones that wanted to basically reduce everything to the Jewish question. That it's this shadowy freaking cabal of these hook noses that are the grabblers are basically destroying society, and they've been doing it since the dawn of man. And their Semitic demon gods are the reason of Christianity, and they've been manipulating everything from the scenes, and basically Western civilization has been in lockstep with their freaking demands and blah, blah, blah.
We're getting put on a list now, boys.
That's argumentation ethics. That is like alt-right. I don't even want to say alt-right because I am friends with alt-right. The individual that publishes the site is a friend, and so I don't want to associate that particular site. But I'm talking about, like, generally that this milieu, or the anti-Semitic milieu, not to say we don't have our criticisms, or that we are unaware of some of these issues, but to say the Jewish question operates like argumentation ethics for those people, in that, and it's a priori axiomatic that if you question the all-consuming narrative, then you are a pawn. And therefore, you don't need your objections, your ideas do not need to be dealt with. Like,
they just change from instead of the state, it's the merchant.
Right, yeah, right, exactly. Right. So, yeah, we could explore the Jewish question in depth another time.
Yeah.
What our thoughts are. I mean, that's a whole thing. But I don't think that we can be accused of shying away from it.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you can, for instance, when I'm writing, what was it? I think it was the Mooring article. And I basically lay out my position on the Jewish question. It's not a mainstream opinion. It's still very much alternative. And
you'll still get.
I was accused of sleeping with the Jews.
Yeah, you will still get the ADL on your ass for what you said.
Right. If you just say just the two words Jewish question, I think that's enough to get people to get accusations flying around. Like just that you would frame it with that phrase is like, whoa. Yeah. Well, what's the Jewish question there?
How edgy.
Exactly. Oh, God.
It's funny because I've read things by Jews themselves when they talk about the Jewish question. Like they know that being there, they're questioning their own existence in Western society, and they call that the Jewish question.
Wasn't Rothbard a Holocaust revisionist?
There's rumors of it. I don't. Rothbard was extremely Jewish in many of its in his sort of his complete disregard for any shared societal norms. Even to the extent which we've talked about, to the extent of tearing down his own people, which he did in his opposition to the state of Israel and his friendship and defending of David Duke and other people. And he could potentially, there is rumors that he has a essay where he admits to Holocaust skepticism. I've never seen it. I don't know that it exists, but our mutual friend that's a Rothbard expert has said so, although I don't know that he's ever seen it. So it could be just a rumor. He definitely...
Well, Jeffrey Tucker owns it, and he's got it buried in his backyard.
I thought you were going to say his back something else.
I thought you were going to say... I was about to say he's got it buried in his back door. But
he hides a lot of things there.
He's keeping a lot of...
Kathy Reisenwitz's makeup.
Oh, God. Jesus.
I think she is him. I saw her in that bikini picture. I think she is Jeff Tucker.
Yeah, they're actually the same person. Imagine.
She's manlier than him.
She's only got more of a man jaw, yeah. That's another thing we'll have to talk about at some point, is all the man-jawed libertarian women. and why they're man-jawed.
Oh God!
Why it is that they
There's
have these
something
man-jaw.
inherent in that ideology that just gives them the man jaw.
We'll have to see if Roosh will come on and be a guest.
People have for real been like it's because they have more testosterone than the average female, so they become
That's the Return of Kings narrative right there. You can get Roosh V to come on and he can talk about the man-jawed Americans.
I'm completely convinced of that. I mean, at least as far as the libertarians are concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Well, shall we wrap things up?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, thanks for joining us on the first episode of the TRS Daily Shoah. Hopefully the first episode of many. And always remember...
Always give your best. Never get discouraged. Never be petty. Always remember, others may hate you. Those who hate you don't win unless you hate them. And then you destroy yourself.
Adiós, mi general. Adiós. La página que hoy día se cerró. Se abre allí en la historia como ráfagas de sol, justo en el umbral donde se encuentran los valientes, los que se atreven, los que jamás se han de